becoming someone I'd be proud of. Soren lived in the city of echoes, where everyone moved to the rhythm of a clock they didn't own. He stood at the corner of someday and never, watching the rush of people who all seemed to have maps tucked into their sleeves. Soren's own pockets were empty, save for a handful of questions and a lingering sense that he was a guest in his own life. He spent years trying to read the Great Manual, a thick, dusty book that everyone said held the secrets to a proper life. It told him when to climb, when to settle, and how to smile for the portraits. But as Soren turned the pages, the ink seemed to fade under his touch. The instructions for a happy man didn't look like the man he saw in the mirror. One Tuesday, when the fog was thick enough to hide the signs, Soren did the unthinkable. He stepped off the paved stone path and into the tall grass. The air here didn't smell like old paper or exhaust. It smelled like damp earth and possibility. His heart hammered a frantic rhythm against his ribs, a drumbeat of terror and exhilaration. The further he walked, the quieter the echoes became. He reached a silver stream that didn't flow in a straight line. Soren knelt by the water and looked at his reflection. He saw a face tired of pretending. He realized that being lost wasn't a failure of navigation. It was the first step of a different kind of journey. In a clearing where the trees whispered in a language of sighs, he met Lumi. She was sitting on a fallen log, weaving a tapestry out of nothing but sunlight and shadows. She didn't ask for his resume or his destination. She simply moved over to make room for him on the mossy wood. "I don't know who I am supposed to be," Soren admitted, the words feeling heavy as they left his mouth. Lumi smiled, her eyes reflecting the dappled forest light. "The version of you that everyone else wants is a ghost," she whispered. "You cannot be proud of a ghost. You can only be proud of the person who chooses to stay and build." Inspired, Soren began to build. He didn't use the blueprints from the City of Echoes. He used the things he loved, the rhythm of the wind, the texture of the stones, and the colors of the sunset. He tried to carve a bowl from a piece of cedar, his hands trembling as he learned the grain of the wood. But his first bowl cracked, and his first song was out of tune. Soren sat in the dirt, surrounded by his failed attempts. The old voice of the city whispered that he was wasting time, that he was falling behind. He felt the familiar weight of shame pressing down on his shoulders like a leaden cloak. He looked at his hands, covered in sap and small nicks. They were no longer the soft, idle hands of a man waiting for instructions. They were the hands of a maker. He realized that the pride he sought wasn't at the end of the road. It was in the stubbornness of his grip and the courage to try again after the crack. Soren stood up and began to walk again. He wasn't following a map, and he wasn't chasing a ghost. He was simply moving toward the light he had found within himself. He wasn't there yet, but for the first time, when he looked at his shadow on the ground, he recognized the man standing in the sun,